Hello and welcome. I am Light and this is my channel. Today we're going to talk about Alcatraz. You've all heard about it, but you might not know some of the details I'm going to tell you. So, before I get started, if you would please give this video a thumbs up. If you would subscribe if you're not subscribed, completely free. And if you would leave a comment, comments greatly help me. And I am not monetized. That was taken away from me. So if you feel that you would like to support me in some way, the front page is a link to my PayPal account. But if you'd like to support me and get something pretty cool out of the deal, I will put the link to my jewelry store and put a couple of photos here at the end of the video. All right, let's get started talking about this, shall we? On May 2nd, 1946, in what became known as the Battle of Alcatraz, 6 prisoners overpowered their guards, they stole their weapons, and they tried to escape from the prison on the isolated island of San Francisco Bay. But when they suddenly realized that they were missing the key they needed to flee into the recreation yards, they grew pretty desperate. So they took captives and they started shooting. Over the next 48 hours, 2 prison officers were killed and 18 others injured. 3 would-be escapees would be shot to death in the utility corridor between cell blocks, the very spot that, 36 years later, San Francisco radio anchor Ted Wygant was exploring with a psychic when he was overcome by a feeling of violence and evil. He is quoted as saying, "I got this tremendous feeling of anger. I felt this presence beneath us in the dirt where these 3 men had died." This is only one of the many supernatural stories involving the so-called Rock, which has been a Civil War fortress, a bird sanctuary, and the birthplace of the American Indian Red Power movement, in addition to the brutal home for thousands of hardened convicts. Rejected as unmanageable by other prisons, these men were called the Incorrigibles, and according to former inmate Leon Thompson, who goes by Whitey, he's quoted as saying, "You step on a toe, and it's going to wind up in a death." Many of these long-departed inmates are now said to be unruly spirits. A spectral Al Capone has been heard practicing his banjo in the shower room. For those who didn't know, he was in a band while he was on Alcatraz, and his band was called the Rock Islanders. Mobster Alvin Karpis, whose name was Creepy, calls the bakery and kitchen his home, while George Machine Gun Kelly has reportedly materialized in the chapel. But the most haunted spot in the prison, according to many paranormal investigators, is D Block, the site of the infamous 1946 escape attempt and one of the island's best spooky stories. Though the tale seems apocryphal, it's too good not to mention. So, a prisoner locked in cell 14D, one of the whole cells, supposedly screamed that someone else was in the dark with him in that cramped space. When the guards finally did open the door, they found him dead by strangulation marks from some kind of an attacker that had attacked him around the neck. This little setback, however, did not prevent the late prisoner's ghost from showing up for roll call that very same night. Now, they say that now they don't treat Alcatraz as commercialized because of the haunted reputation. And the National Park Service calls those spooky stories flights of fancy, as does the island's official tour website, which says there are no authenticated cases of ghost sightings by any of Alcatraz Island's residents over the years, whether they were soldiers, prisoners, correction officers, family members, or park rangers. But tell me this, how do you authenticate a ghost sighting? Former prisoner Thompson, for his part, believed all the hype, and he said that this island is haunted. It is the island of the damned. Now, Rob always teases me when I talk about stories like this that I always say, I've been there, and I've been there. I went on a tour. It was in the 80s. We had foster children, and we took them on vacation with us. One of the places we went was to tour Alcatraz, and they took us to cell 14D. They didn't tell us at the beginning what was so haunting about this cell. In fact, what they talked about was the fact that in general, men would go insane being in solitary confinement there, which is a psychological fact. So they asked for a volunteer from the group on the tour, and for some reason, they picked my foster sister, who was 16 at the time, 14 at the time, and they put her in there and shut the door. Now, why a tour guide would take a 14-year-old child and put them in cell block 14D, or why they would take a child and put them in a solitary confinement cell all by themselves while talking about how it drives men insane, is something probably best left in the 80s. But I'll tell you something. That girl, who was tough as nails, grew up in a motorcycle club. Parents were Hells Angels. She'd seen a few things. She'd been through a few things. She was tough as nails. Nothing scared her. And she started screaming in there and yelling, "Stop touching me. Who's in here? Help me." She did not know about the story because we were not told until afterwards. And she came out with her eyes wide open, shaking, crying. She'd been scared nearly to death. And she had fingerprints that began to bruise up on her wrist. She was supposedly alone in this cell. She believed she'd been attacked by a ghost. Thank you for coming to my channel. While we're at the end of this, I'm going to put a couple of pieces of my jewelry up. And good night.